Would you rather be stuck in a forest with a man or a bear?
Bear. Man is scary. With a bear. Depends what man, but probably a bear. Oh, 100% a bear, which is like terrifying to say, but definitely a bear. Some men are very scary out there. A bear.
If you ever see me fighting in the forest with a grizzly bear, help the bear!
Lions, tigers, and bears.
Oh my!
Now, there's an uproar right now on social media. Matter of fact, it's an uproar just in the world now because, as always, things go from online to offline and the whole world goes crazy. But if you haven't heard, man versus bear. No, I'm not talking about some TV show where the man goes in the wild and try to outsmart a bear. It's a little bit different than that. So basically, some women have been asked on the street and now online, would they rather be stuck in the woods with a random stranger that's a man or a wild bear? Insert any bear. Polar bear, grizzly bear, black bear, brown bear. Not koala bear, because that's technically a marsupial. But anyway, I digress. The point is, they're picking the bear by far. Like maybe 1 out of 10 will say man. And it's quite interesting because people are saying it takes a look at how women feel about assault and how they deal with everyday stressors of coming across men, but I don't think that's true. I think this looks closer, more so on how we actually view men today in society, and even a deeper look on maybe men's mental health. So let's check this out, because if I'm talking about this, you already know I gotta come from a psychological perspective. So let's see what's really going on behind the scenes. Now, personally, the first question I would wanna know is, why are they so scared of men and so okay with bears? So I'm gonna just put something to the side. First and foremost, I question when they think of bears, they're thinking of like a Care Bear or Yogi the Bear.
Gee, homie, it's not very nice to maul Ranger Ned.
You want some of this?
Or just something cute and cuddly like Ted. You're not really thinking about actual real life bears, because if you don't know, depending on the type of bear, it can go from 6 to 7 feet all the way up to 10 feet. And it can weigh up over 500 all the way to 2,000 pounds. So when you think about the actual size of the bear, the mass, it's just crazy to think that you would want to encounter this. But let's dial it back just a little. Now, also, if they say they do think of a big wild bear that can actually do them harm, they think of this actual image, but they say things such as, well, at least I know the intentions of the bear. Well, what might that be? Rip you to shreds, eat you? Or they know that if they get assaulted by the bear and they live, that no one's going to doubt it. And I see where they're going with this. They're really trying hard to make it seem as if no one believes victims of assault, which I'm not saying that doesn't happen. It does. But they're turning into like an end all be all. And this is not a true depiction of how we live in everyday life. Another thing I saw people try to do is to say that, well, it's not all men we're looking at, it's more so strangers. Now, that's not a good way to look at it logically, because if they say something like, well, I'm not talking about my dad, brother, cousins, family member, I'm talking about guys I don't know. But think about this. Your father, your brother, your cousins, whoever, any male in your family is a stranger to someone. So by their logic, no matter how you put it, these men are going to be looked at as bad people. Even myself, I'm a father, I'm a son, I'm a brother, but guess what? They're looking at me the same exact way. I'm 6'1", 220 pounds. So maybe I come off as scarier than a bear. I don't know. But the point is, that makes no sense, because no matter how you spin it, you're going to encounter men, and these men may be strangers, but this is still not telling us the true story of what's really going on here. Now, if we look more so into why they think they can get away, some say, oh, make yourself bigger, play dead. Now, different bears have a different set of rules. And one girl, I think, even commented that there is no pamphlet given when you're attacked by a bear, but if you're attacked by a man, they'll give you a pamphlet and tell you what to look for. And that's not true. There is plenty of things that you're taught about bears and how to avoid them if you're in the wild, because there is precautions that these rangers and specialists put out there so people don't get hurt. Just like in regular life, you're told as a child, don't talk to strangers, look both ways before crossing the street. These are all types of rules. So when we suspend this disbelief of that, we're just living in the wild, wild west when we really aren't. That's what I think is the crazy thing about this. We've made the world so civilized. I mean, humankind as a whole, we made the world so civilized that we're okay with taking on a wild animal that has the capability to destroy us. Because going back to the point to say, what if we can get away or play dead? Getting away, first and foremost. If you don't know, I told you how big these things can get. They can run over 30 miles per hour. A lot of people don't understand that. Anything with 4 legs, for the most part, not all animals, but most animals with 4 legs can run very fast. And if you understand just exercise physiology like I do, that is part of some of my backgrounds, the more power and force you can generate while running, the fastest human can run about 27. That's Usain Bolt. The average person, male or female, is not probably going more than 15 miles per hour at best. Now, some superstar athletes are going like 20, 22, but Usain Bolt, the fastest man to ever be recorded, goes 27, meaning he wouldn't even get away from the slowest bear. What are your odds? Playing dead? It's another thought, but that doesn't always work. Now, granted, I think this may be a case of some bad mathematics, some bad statistics. Because if you understand statistics, right, they say women lie, men lie, but numbers can be misinterpreted. Oh, you thought I was going to say numbers don't lie. They don't, but they can be looked at incorrectly. And when you make sense of the data, it can make it say something else. I took a course back in college called data mining, where we can make it look like car sales and tornadoes were correlated based off the statistics. But that's not the true story. Because if you look at something, say like plane crashes versus car crashes, most people are not afraid to get into cars, but there's a good amount of people that are scared of flying. Why is this? Because statistically speaking, you're less likely to die from a plane accident versus a car accident. Now, I think the issue is when plane accidents happen, they're more likely to die because one, you're thousands of feet in the air. Two, you don't have control of the plane. You're a passenger usually. So it's less degrees of freedom to control, like when a car swerves out. But when you think about it, cars, we're in them every day for the most part. So you have more likeliness to get into an accident. You can look at it as that being the man's a car. You see more men than you see bears. But guess what? When you see a bear, there's a chance that it may come for you. Sometimes it doesn't. These encounters do happen and people walk away, live, they're okay. Sometimes they happen, they get attacked and they live, but there's a chance that you may not survive. But it's more sensationalized when a bear attacks versus a car accident, right? So the thing with the plane and the car, it makes it seem as if one's more sensationalized, but in actuality, it's not telling the true story. Because let's bring it back to the actual numbers of men and bears. Now, in the US, where I live, let's use that. There's approximately 330 million people in the US. Let's take out about 100 million just for kids. So let's just go with 200 million. 100 million are male, 100 million are female, split right down the middle. Now, from the prison statistics, I looked this up. There's about 1.2 million men currently serving a sentence in prison, right? So out of that 1.2 million, about 160,000 are there for sexual assault or sexually violent crimes. Now, I'm not saying people don't go under the radar. It's not to say that some people don't get their justice. It does happen. This is not what my argument's about, but we're going about statistics, right? So 160,000 out of 1.2 million. It's a very small odds. So granted, these are evil men, but for some reason, they make every man out to be Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer. Matter of fact, not Jeffrey Dahmer because he didn't like women. So Ted Bundy is pretty much every man. And the funny thing is that I even use the term Ted Bundy to describe a heinous evil man when this man has been dead for nearly 40 years. His killing attacks lasted from the 70s to the 80s and he was executed. The fact that I still use his name as an example shows you these men aren't all Ted Bundy. If I put a number on it, probably less than 0.5% are that heinous. But we don't talk about that. We only see the ones that do the bad things because going back to the stats, most people who get assaulted in that way, SA, is more than likely 80% to be exact, to be by someone that you know. It could be a family member. That happens more than it should for sure. It could be an acquaintance. It could be a friend of the family, but it's usually someone you know. So this kind of takes away that whole idea of I'm afraid of strangers because guess what? It's only about a 20% chance that it will be a stranger. Now, that does happen too. People get caught on the street. They think they're getting help, but it ends up being someone trying to harm them. This is not what we're talking about. So to make that argument that every encounter, one, is going to be heinous, two, that is going to come from a stranger when statistically it is more likely because guess what? Most crimes happen in proximity because if I say who's more likely to get killed by a man, it's a man. Most people who get killed are men in general. And then when it's a man to another man, it's much higher. And if it is a man killing a woman, it goes back to that who you know. It's usually a spouse. So more than likely, the person, if you want to be honest, it's a person you know that you need to worry about. So going into the encounters, you might face up to 100 people a day just in passing. Let's say 100 of them are men. Let's just go with that. Talking about 3,000 in a month and about 36,000 in a year, look at those odds. If you see 36,000 men in a year just passing and you're okay, versus let's say you see 4 bears. You don't see a lot of bears unless you're in the woods, right? Unless you're in a zoo or in the woods. So if you do see one in the wild, your odds are much more likely that you're going to get harmed. But I'm just making sense here. I don't really know what to say about this because if I was to play, okay, let's play devil's advocate. I'm going to play the side for the women or the women who believe this. Let's say you're right. Men are heinous. They're capable of many things. I don't know the man's intention. I know what the bear's going to do. He's going to harm me because he's big and strong as claws. But a man, he can do all types of bad things. But think about it. Yeah, you might be right because men, we evolved, people, we evolved, and we adapted so much that we can still survive in the world over hundreds of thousands of years and still be here. And we're pound for pound one of the weakest species. So how does this happen? We have the capabilities to do a lot of things. So from that standpoint, yeah, it might be scary. I get it. But just like a woman, I'm not trying to walk down the street by myself at night. That's not a exclusive thing to women. This is my thing. Why do women think they have a monopoly on fear and emotion? That's just weird to me. And this kind of ties into my whole point of this going to men's mental health because I get scared. I need to reassure myself. It's just that if there was to be an attack in the alley and they see me and they see a smaller woman, yeah, she's probably going to be the easier target. But does it mean I'm not going to be a likely target? No. It doesn't mean I don't think about it either. I just know by societal standards, I'm going to overcome. I've been raised to man up and take charge. It's cool. I'm fine with that. But we can't make this narrative that only women get scared. Only women get hurt because you look at the statistics from self-deletion, about 800,000 people have done that in the United States in the last 20 years. 78% are male. 4 to 5 times more likely to do it if you're a man. And how does it feel being a man and you wake up hearing that a bear is a better option than you? You're working every day, trying to make your money, trying to support your family, support your loved ones, just be a good human being, a good American citizen, or wherever you're at. And someone thinks you're worse than a bear. Do you know how bad it has to feel? Like even myself, I walk around trying to do my best in life. And I know if I walk by a group of women and they don't know me, they probably think I could be a threat. And that's fine. I get it. I'm not naive to it. And that's why I live in the world of logic where I get why women feel this way. But they don't have to. It doesn't say let your guard down and think every man's going to be nice and it's all hunky-dory. That's naive too. But you can't walk around demonizing a whole group of people because if we switched out the name men with black or men with Latino, men with Muslim, changes the narrative, doesn't it? And given today's climate, that won't fly. But for some reason, they call it misandry, the hatred of man, the disdain for man. We allow this. And I'm not trying to make this a red pill talk, but all honesty, we need to have this conversation. The bear, help the bear. That's what we're getting to. Help the bear. No, help everyone, human alike. Men and women should work together. We work much better in sync, but there's this big divide. In 2024, I don't understand how we got here. I'm 35 at this time, and I've seen it before this, and I've seen it now, and I don't like what I see. So all in all, we come from the men's mental health standpoint. I even try to play devil's advocate and see, yeah, men can be capable of some heinous things, see Ted Bundy, or we can overcome and achieve great things that give us the ability to conquer. We're the new apex predator. Men are. I'm fine with that. But at the same time, let's be reasonable, guys. So let me know what you think. This, like I said, this was about the topic that's going viral. But all in all, I want to look at it as how do we get here and how do we overcome it? I don't like this narrative of all men are bad. And people who support this, you're just as bad as the people you claim you don't like. So guys, let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for always for tuning in and get your mind right.